All right, so you want to know how to create that dream future you've been thinking about. You sent in this incredible interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza from the Aubrey Marcus Podcast. And, well, let's just say, get ready, because we're diving deep into the power you have inside to make it happen.
And what's really fascinating is that Dispenza, he's not like your typical self-help guru, right?
Yeah.
This guy's a chiropractor and a researcher. He's blending neuroscience, quantum physics, and personal development into like this potent mix.
Yeah, it's a wild combination for sure. And one of the things that just leaped out at me was this whole concept of gratitude, that it's like the emotional signature of the future you've already lived. Like if you can feel grateful as if your dream has already come true, that's where the real power lies, you know?
Absolutely. It's all about stepping into and really embodying that future you're aiming for. See, Dispenza, he explains that gratitude, it's way more than just saying thank you. It's about truly feeling the state of receiving. When you tap into that genuine gratitude, you're sending a powerful message to the universe. You're basically saying, hey, this is already mine. It's not hoping or wishing, it's living in that reality right now.
And it's so cool how Aubrey Marcus, the podcast host, jumped in with his own story about this. He was talking about how even with the life that looked totally perfect from the outside, he felt this block. Like he couldn't truly feel that deep passion and gratitude until he started working with Dispenza's meditations.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you, right? These patterns, they can run so deep, even for someone who, from the outside, seems to have it all figured out. It's this powerful reminder for all of us, no matter where we are in life, that we've all got work to do when it comes to cultivating that real, genuine gratitude and aligning ourselves with what we truly desire.
For sure. But then Dispenza drops this other bombshell. He says we can actually get addicted to the life we don't even want. Like we become hooked on those stress hormones, the feeling of constantly struggling.
Think about it. How often do you start your day focusing on problems or scrolling through like stressful news?
Oh, all the time.
Right. It's almost like we're programmed to zero in on the negative, even though deep down we know it's not good for us.
Yeah, he calls it the same as day trap, like wake up and just repeat the same negative routines over and over. But he says we can actually break free from that, you know? We have to wake up and become aware of these subconscious addictions and consciously choose a different emotional state right from the moment we wake up.
Exactly. You know, even making small shifts like starting your day with gratitude or focusing on something positive, those small shifts can create a ripple effect that impacts your entire day. It's about shifting your energy and setting a completely different tone for the day ahead.
And you know what? This actually connects with some pretty big ideas in psychology. Things like learned helplessness, you know, where we feel totally powerless to change our situation. And then there's that weird comfort we find in the familiar, even when it's not good for us at all.
It's like we get so used to a certain way of being, even if it's unhealthy, that we cling to it. Like even positive change can feel kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah.
But Dispenza's message is all about empowering ourselves to break free from that.
So if we can get addicted to negativity, like literally addicted to it, does that mean we can rewire our brains to become addicted to positivity and awesomeness instead?
That's exactly what Dispenza's getting at. He says we have way more control over our thoughts, our emotions, and ultimately our reality than we realize. We just got to be willing to put in the work.
And that's where this whole junk DNA idea just blew my mind. He's suggesting that what we call junk DNA might actually be the key to unlocking all this hidden potential we have inside.
So for a long time, scientists thought these parts of our DNA were basically useless, right? Mm-hmm. But now we're starting to discover they could hold incredible power. Imagine them like switches that can turn certain traits on or off.
And he's saying that our thoughts and emotions, even the environment we're in, can actually flip these switches.
Yeah.
It's like we can actively shape our biology and our future.
It is. It's both exciting and, yeah, maybe a little daunting when you really think about it.
No kidding.
Dispenza's work and a lot of emerging research in epigenetics, it's all pointing to this idea that we have so much more influence over our biology than we ever thought possible.
So if we actually have this power, how do we tap into it? Dispenza talks about witnessing miracles. Like he's seen people in his workshops overcome these massive health challenges that doctors couldn't even explain.
He uses these incredible stories to drive home the point about the mind-body connection and just how powerful our beliefs can be. When we truly believe in a positive outcome, it can literally change our physical reality.
Seems a lot like the placebo effect, right?
Exactly. And the placebo effect, it's real, it's well documented. It shows how much our minds can impact our health. Just believing in something can have a massive impact on how our bodies heal and function.
Okay, but now we're getting into some really intriguing territory here. If our minds are that powerful, how do we actually, harness that power? Dispenza, he says the pineal gland is a key player here. He describes it as the sort of radio receiver that's sitting right there in our brains.
And he explains that when we can quiet down all that constant mental chatter, through deep meditation, we tap into different brainwave patterns, specifically theta and delta waves. These brainwaves, they're associated with deep relaxation, creativity, and they might be like our gateway to mystical experiences and really profound insights.
Wait, hold on a second. Is he saying our brains can act like actual radios tuning into other dimensions? That sounds a little out there.
I know, right? It might sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but there's actually a ton of scientific research on brainwaves and altered states of consciousness. Think about things like deep prayer or those flow states that artists and musicians get into, right?
Yeah.
These states, they've been linked to specific brainwave patterns, and they can have profound effects on our well-being and even how we perceive reality.
So are you saying we all have these hidden superpowers just waiting to be unlocked? That's where I get really curious. What's the next step on this journey to unlocking our true potential?
It all comes down to shifting our perspective, moving away from this idea of a purely physical world to one where everything's connected through energy. Dispenza, he's suggesting that when we can tap into this deeper level of consciousness, we become so much more than just these physical bodies, right? We become these energetic beings that are connected to this field of infinite possibilities.
So it's like our energy is actually interacting with this field, and that's how we manifest things in our lives. But then what about those times when you're trying so hard to manifest something specific, and it feels like you're just hitting a wall?
He calls those moments choice points. It's that point where you have to make a decision. Are you going to stick with what's familiar, even if it's not really serving you anymore? Or are you going to step into the unknown and create something totally new?
It's that moment of truth, right? But that's got to be where it gets really challenging because, breaking free from those old patterns, those old habits, and embracing the unknown, that can feel, scary, overwhelming, right? So how do we actually overcome that resistance and make choices that line up with the future we want?
Dispenza talks about developing your will muscle. It's like any muscle in your body, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. He's encouraging us to reframe our thinking, to view that discomfort, those challenges, as signs of growth. Those tough moments, they're actually opportunities for us to strengthen our will and really step into our power.
Okay, so instead of getting discouraged when things get hard, we should see it as a sign that we're actually pushing our limits and moving closer to what we want. But let's be real, staying motivated when you're facing those setbacks, that can be a real struggle. How do we stay committed to this process and not just slip back into those old habits?
Consistency is key. Dispenza, he really emphasizes how important that daily practice is. The more we practice these techniques, the more we're literally rewiring our brains and bodies to operate from a higher level of consciousness. It's like we're creating a whole new blueprint for how we live our lives.
So we're not just talking about, changing our thoughts or our beliefs on a surface level. We're actually changing the physical structure of our brains. That's wild. But it's not just about individual transformation, right?
Yeah.
Dispenza, he also talks about the power of collective consciousness, how our energy can actually impact the world around us.
He's highlighting this idea that we're all interconnected, Our thoughts, our emotions, they have this ripple effect. They're influencing not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us, maybe even the collective consciousness as a whole. It's like we're all part of this massive energetic web.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It makes you realize that your energy, it's not just affecting you, it's affecting everyone you come into contact with. So if that's true, what kind of energy are we putting out there in the world? Dispenza talks about the heart's energy field as being especially strong, capable of transmitting information.
Yeah, and he suggests that when our hearts are open, when they're filled with love and gratitude, we're transmitting a different kind of frequency, right? It's a frequency that can carry positive energy and intentions, and it can have a real impact on the world around us.
So it's not just about manifesting material things for ourselves. We're talking about manifesting a more loving, peaceful, abundant reality for everyone. It's like we become these beacons of positive energy, attracting more good into our lives and raising the vibration of the entire planet.
Exactly. It all comes back to that power of choice. We can choose to focus on fear, lack, negativity, or we can choose to focus on love, abundance, possibility. Our choices, they don't just affect us, they contribute to the collective reality we're all creating together.
That brings up such a big question. What kind of future do you want to create? If you could broadcast any energy into the world, what would it be? What kind of world do you want to live in? Not just for yourself, but for everybody.
That is a powerful question for all of us to consider. It really challenges us to step into those roles as conscious creators. And Dispenza's work, it's like a roadmap for this whole journey of transformation. He gives us these tools, these techniques we can use to tap into our unlimited potential and create a future filled with possibility, love, abundance. It's all there for us.
It's so inspiring to think about the power we all have within us. So how do we actually move from like the theory to the action? Where do we start?
Well, it really starts with awareness, right? Becoming aware of those negative thought patterns, those voices in our heads that are always telling us we're not good enough or we can't change.
It's like those voices are constantly running in the background, almost like a broken record.
Dispenza, he actually calls these limiting beliefs, these negative thoughts, programs. He says they're like software running in the background of our minds.
Yeah.
They're shaping our perceptions and our behaviors without us even realizing it. It's like we're living on autopilot, just reacting to life instead of consciously creating it.
Yeah, it's like those default settings on your phone, the ones you never bother to change, even if they aren't really working for you anymore.
Exactly. But just like you can customize those settings, Dispenza says we can actually reprogram our minds. We do that by becoming aware of those limiting beliefs and then choosing to replace them with empowering ones. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we think and how we feel.
So we have to become the observer of our thoughts, like almost step outside of ourselves and just watch those programs run. And then we can decide, wait, I don't have to buy into that anymore. I can choose a different story.
That's it. That's the real key, realizing that we have the power to change the narrative. We're not stuck as victims of our past conditioning. We can choose to create a whole new future for ourselves.
But let's be real for a sec. It's not like you just flip a switch and suddenly you're a brand new person, right? I mean, it takes serious time and effort to rewire those deeply ingrained patterns.
Oh, absolutely. It's a process. And Dispenza, he talks about how important consistent practice is. It's not a one-time fix, right? It's about a daily commitment to showing up for yourself, choosing love over fear, choosing possibility over those limitations that hold us back.
And it's got to be about celebrating those little victories along the way. Every time you catch yourself, slipping back into an old pattern and you consciously choose a different thought or a different action, you're flexing that will muscle. You're reinforcing those new neural pathways in your brain.
It's like training a muscle at the gym.
Yeah.
You need repetition, you need consistency if you want to see real lasting results. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to operate from that higher level of consciousness, that place where you're in the driver's seat.
I love that analogy. It's so exciting to think that we really do have this capacity for change and growth, to literally transform our minds and bodies. Makes you realize that anything is possible if we're willing to put in the work.
And as we do that, as we commit to that inner work, we not only transform our own lives, but we also contribute to a collective shift in consciousness. We become part of something much bigger. A movement that's creating a more loving, peaceful, and abundant world for everyone.
So to bring this all home, if you're feeling that spark of inspiration, that desire to unlock your full potential and create the life you truly desire, remember, the power is within you. It all starts with awareness, choice, and that consistent practice. Choose to believe in yourself, embrace the unknown, and never stop growing.
The journey, it might not always be easy. There will be bumps along the way, but the rewards, they're beyond measure. You have the power within you to create a life that's bursting with love, joy, and purpose. Go out there and make it happen.
Absolutely. And thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating the reality you desire.